Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Lauer. Thanks for staying up later. Bob Costas has the week off, and I'm keeping the chair warm. Our guest tonight is an outsider in the television industry who is on the inside track when it comes to success in the television talk genre. He is Montel Williams. He once said that if he doesn't beat Oprah Winfrey's ratings, he'll get out of this. We'll find out if that's true. Montel, nice to have you here.
Good to be here, Matt.
You know, people look at a resume and they look down and say, let's see, how did he get where he is today? For the talk show, he was 15 years in the military.
Well, you know, what's really funny about that, as of next year, June of next year, I will have been in the service for 20 years. I'm still in now. I'm a reservist. I'm a lieutenant commander in the Navy Reserve right now as we speak. And I got here in a very odd way.
I mean, most people cut their teeth, so to speak. They go to the small markets, they do talk shows, they work their way up to the national audience. What does the military do as far as preparing you for what you're doing now?
Zippity-doo-dah. Not one thing. What's so funny about this, in a sense, when I was on active duty in the military, my last year on active duty, which was really kind of 1989, I say kind of because in January of 1988, I started a program where I was speaking to kids all over the country about staying in school and away from negative youth trends. This thing caught on like wildfire. It became a media event.
I want you all in this room to just say no.
Just saying no to drugs sounds good, but it's not always the answer. Williams uses a skit about a drug deal gone bad to show students what else isn't the answer.
How much money you got?
We got $130.
You don't have no $130.
Right here.
You got $130? Look, I got something for you off for $130. I keep it right here in my pocket. Yeah, I got it. I always have something for $130. That's what I got. Yes. Yeah, I got something for you. Yes. But when this garbage happens for real, they don't get up. And then it's not that funny. And when are y'all going to learn?
I did this for about 3 years, but every city that I would go to, I would be covered by the local live at 5, local live at 12, at 6, be back at 11. And then I was asked to guest host local public affairs programs. I would either be a guest on or they would ask me to host them. I did several of those kind of as a free agent, if you will. One in Jacksonville, Florida, one in D.C., another one in D.C., in Detroit, in Chicago, and then I finally did a show for a station in Denver, Colorado, an NBC affiliate in Denver, Colorado, which was KCNC, and the show was called The Fourth R, Kids Rap About Racism, where I won an Emmy as a talk show host. And that was really the genesis of this show.
You're a pretty tall fella, and I know you got to play basketball, right? Because you're black. You play basketball. You can dunk too, right? You're black, right? I mean, because everybody assumes that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
Well, how come the little brother back in the... You play basketball?
Well, I'm sorry.
On the side, you don't play on the team. Huh? You got to be good in some sport. You got to be a football star.
No, I'm a cycling star.
A cycling star? No, wait a minute. Y'all don't ride bicycles.
How were you received when it first came to be known that Montel Williams was going to have his own nationally syndicated talk show? What did people say? What did you hear in the side of your ear?
Really, the oddest thing about this was I had too many people, or the majority of people in this industry, in this business, and people, no matter who they were, whether they be producers or in front of the camera personalities, most people stood back and asked the question, why the hell does he have his own show? I got that more than I got anything else. No one even asked, where did he come from? No one asked, what had he been doing? No one asked, has he paid any dues whatsoever? They just said, right point blank, why the hell does he have his own show? And initially, when we entered the marketplace, and again, this was back in June of 1991, after being on the air for only 3 weeks, I was in 2 markets, then in the 3rd week went to 10 markets. Every newspaper in the city that we were on all compared this show to the 4 that had already been there.
Well, they also needed to label you. Here you were, an African-American,
Sure.
bald,
Sure.
not what you're normally seeing on television,
Sure.
and they weren't really comfortable. They had to figure out a way to put you in a pigeonhole.
In a niche. And when you look at that, not only being just an African-American and bald, but the first African-American talk show host to host his own daytime talk show by himself. There has never been one before me. There may be a reason for that, whatever the reason is, we won't get to that. But the point is, at that time, I had more people and more articles, and you can go back and pull them all out, because I've got stacks of everything written on me since the show started. I had more people identify me as the bald ex-naval officer than as the black bald ex-naval officer, which I think was very, very interesting. I didn't start being identified as the black male talk show host until I'd been on the air for almost 9 months.
Why do you think that was?
I think because people could very clearly see that the show was, number one, not a black show. because I think oftentimes critics like to label any person who is black involved in a program as a black show. For the first couple of years that Bill Cosby was on the air, everybody called that a black show. And Bill Cosby was clearly not a black show. He was a show that was representative of any family across America. And the people on camera, in front of the camera, happened to be black. I'm not saying that I just happen to be black and I'm doing the show, but at the same time, people who watch the show can clearly see that the show has appeal to everyone. It's not a show that addresses just black issues. It's a show that addresses issues that affect everybody's life.
I was lucky enough, one of your test markets was right here in New York, WCBS. And I listened to some of the interviews you did with the press in announcing your talk show, and you did tend to lean towards the comments of, I'm going to talk about the social higher ground. You came from motivational speaking.
Sure.
You cared about people.
Sure.
You were going to deal with those subjects that affected people on a daily basis. Give yourself a report card now, a year and some months into it. A to F.
A to F, I would tell you that we have tried to do some things that have been cutting edge on the show. And when I say, and I'll get to what those are specifically cutting edge, we have dealt with a lot of social issues. At the same time, I realized very quickly after being on the air for about 3 months that this thing that we're in right now, the television, is, whether people want to admit it or not, and anyone who has the loftiest ideas that they may have about this industry, this is entertainment. If we do not entertain, if this show is not considered entertaining to viewers, they don't watch. And if they don't watch and you don't pull a rating that indicates it was entertaining, you and I will not have a job. And it's that simple. And so when I first came across on the air, I tried to be a little bit too erudite. I think I also tried to be a little too lofty, and I tried to tackle those social issues thinking that that's all that the American public wanted to hear and know about. Then I found out very quickly that that's not all that they want to know about, and I had to entertain. And so I will say I'll give myself an A for being a work in progress, for continuing to change and to try to meet the needs of the viewing audience. I give myself an F for the initial effort, because I think initially we came across way too lofty. And then there was a while there where we decided to try to make the swing and be as entertaining as we possibly could be. I don't think we ever crossed the line like maybe some other people have, but I think we came right up to it. Remove the hair! Remove the hair! Start touching the head. Remove the hair! Remove it! Start touching! Start touching! Start touching! Start touching! No! Touch only yours! Touching! 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 Stop! Stop! Hands up! Hands up! Stop! Now, let's find out. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Caitlin is... Wait a minute. Shh. Caitlin, is this your man?
This is not my baby.
I read an article at Elle magazine this month. I don't have a subscription, but I read the article. It said, talk shows today are like the therapy, the one-stop drive-in therapy of the 80s and 90s. You buy that? For the guests.
For the guests, I think if you do it responsibly and you try to do it... Well, here I go again with this erudite attitude, but I'm going to tell you, if done responsibly, it's not only therapy for the guest, it's also therapy for the viewer, because the viewer can live voyeuristically and vicariously through the life of the person that's sitting on that stage. Because of so many 12-step, 9-step, 8-step programs out there that are therapeutic programs where they say to a person, the best way to start the healing process is to make a public announcement or to talk publicly and openly about your problem. That's why a lot of people will come to a talk show to do that.
I sat there at 14 and I saw you so drunk and so stoned, you almost killed yourself. And then you got mad at me because I had called 911 and you thought that your pot was still out and they were going to take you to jail. You didn't care that I tried to save your life.
I realize that.
Do you remember that? I saw your whole life just wasting away. You were the greatest thing in the world to me. You were the biggest, most powerful thing that anybody could have in their life. And you were becoming nothing.
When a person also comes, though, and then offers up information that we never knew was
above and beyond,
coming,
yeah.
It amazes me. Sometimes it stops me. It shuts me down for a second because I'll give you a case in point. We did a show recently about My Teenage Girl is Boy Crazy was the title of the show. And it was about, what a lot of fathers and mothers are dealing with when they have young ladies who are 13, 14 years old that are very sexually active and involved with relationships with older men or even just kids that are their peers. This young lady sat on our show, and I said, a question was something like this, and I'm paraphrasing, but I said, but you've already had sexual relationships with 40 guys. 40 guys. Don't you have any value in your sexuality at all? Now, this girl had been in counseling. She was in a program where her father had put her in a residential care project or program. The father had been working and talking with the counselors every day. This girl sat there and she answered me. She says, well, Montel, now I got raped 3 years ago by a guy who was an older guy. And if he didn't care about me, I don't really care about sex. Sex is just something to enjoy. And I looked at the father, and the father almost had a heart attack because he didn't know that his own daughter had been raped. And I said, have you told this to a counselor? She said, I talked to one, and the counselor hadn't even told the father. And so now you're stuck in a situation where what was a funny show has now turned very deathly serious.
When you're raped, some people like totally stay away from sex. Some people just, just forget about it. And other people like go to it, do it a lot.
Scott, did you know she was raped?
No.
Why did you never share this with your father?
Because he'd get hurt.
Well, don't you think what you're doing right now will hurt him? Don't you think it hurts him to have to put you in a group home?
Give me a laundry list. Here we go. I'll give you the names.
Okay.
You give me a sentence about each one, okay? Oprah.
People.
Oprah.
Oprah has consistently put a quality program on the air. She is what, I don't care what any of the other hosts will say to you. I'm going to tell you right now, if there's anybody in this business who's not striving to reach the numbers that lady has reached, they're lying to you. Because anybody can pull a 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 rating in daytime. We all want to be just like her. You know that commercial, I want to be like Mike? Anybody in this business wants to be like Oprah pulling those numbers.
Serious when you said if you don't reach your numbers, you might get out?
I don't do anything halfway. So there's no reason to be in this job and not want to be number one. And she's number one, and so she's what I'm striving for.
Phil Donahue.
Phil Donahue, been on the air for 25 years, has done some things to stay on the air for 25 years. I think he puts out a quality program. I think maybe for his viewers, maybe he isn't doing what they want him to do, but I think Phil's having fun.
Maury Povich.
Maury Povich? Maury Povich.
Maury Povich.
Maury Povich.
Maury Povich.
That's my sentence.
You said something about him one time. He had done
I
a
didn't
show.
say a word about Maury Povich. What did I say
show
about
on
Maury?
young people.
Huh?
And the comment I read was that you said, how can he come off like Uncle Maury? He's never spent the time talking to young people.
Well, that's close to the quote, but I'll say what happened.
Paraphrase.
It's paraphrased. What I said was, in looking at this year, since September 21st, we have done 22 shows, count 22 shows dealing with kids and parents and issues affecting kids and communication between their parents on the air. 9 of those shows we have done with an all-teen audience, and it's really like my forte. I'm sorry, I spend a lot of time with teenagers and a lot of time talking to them, and I feel very comfortable in that setting. And what I specifically said was that this obviously is a direction that we're going in, because all of a sudden I see Maury doing it, and I've never seen Maury sitting down in a room full of kids talking to kids before. I never seen it on, what was the show they used to do? The Current Affair. Yeah. That's it.
Maury Povich. Okay. Geraldo?
Geraldo, I tell you, Geraldo and I, believe it or not, and people won't believe us, are very good friends. I really like him a lot. I have a lot of respect for him. I understand what's taken place and what's happened to him in the media, and with the fact that people thought for a while that his show went one direction that they didn't want it to go in, or another direction that they didn't want it to go in. Geraldo, to me, is a super nice guy, and the only thing I think was a bad move for him was getting in the ring that one time that he did. No, but he's a great guy. I like him a lot.
And to the rest of you, we don't mean to leave you out, but we're gonna let it slide at that. Did anyone, hard lesson of business in the television industry, has anyone ever come to you, Montel, and said, look, I don't care about your social issues. Deliver me a number.
Well, you know what? One of the things about this was that the biggest mistake, or I shouldn't say mistake, I didn't mean mistake, I should just say, one of the best things that happened with me when the show was being put together is that my contract was written that I have creative control. Absolute creative control. And so people can come to me with input, and I will take the input if I feel it's okay.
You know, it's easy to say you have creative control and be responsible to yourself, but you have to sit around those staff meetings and say, wait a second, this young lady here, she depends on me for her living. This guy here,
You can get another job.
Well, But at the moment, it's tough out there, and unless you deliver for them, you're looking at their bills.
But I'm not looking at their bills. I'm looking at my bills. And my bills are the ones that are really important. I mean, I hire people and you bring them on and you want to make sure that it's a family atmosphere. But if anyone's going to give me that much control over their life, they shouldn't be in this business because this business is so fickle. What I say to that is that I have to put out something. My mother watches the show every day. Every day. She will tape it and watch it at night. And if I get a phone call like I got a year ago, a couple times, I've gotten 2 of them the entire time we've been on the air, when my mother was called up and she said one thing about the way I was and one thing about the topic that we did. And one show that we did, I was really kind of caustic at the end because I didn't agree with the guests and I was very, very caustic. And she said, you know, I just want you to know I raised you. Now you can challenge people, but you don't have to be so mean. I took it aboard. That was the first thing I took aboard. And the other one, she says, I'm not real sure that people really care about that. I took it aboard. And so we haven't done things at that point. And that's who I'm really trying to make sure that I not please, but, you know, she's alive, she's working, she's out there in the community, and I'm not going to embarrass her.
But somehow I can't imagine your mom calling and a guy who looks like you and acts like you going, oh, Mom.
Wait. When's the last time your mom called? I mean,
every day. She watches also.
If she calls you up and tell me that you don't go, Mom. I was staying. We just shot some shows in Washington, and I'm still in Washington, Baltimore, a week ago, and my mother came to the taping of the show, and I realized after about 3 minutes I'm standing here going, you know, the old, okay, Mom, shuffle in front of like an entire audience. I was like, will you go sit down for a minute and stop embarrassing me? But that's how it is, you know. I would do anything for her. And
I bet you were wearing clean underwear, though.
I was wearing clean underwear, I'm telling you. She would have checked, too.
Do you remember confronting racism?
Oh, several times. I remember confronting racism throughout my entire life. And anybody who is in this country today, whether they be black, white, Hispanic, or Asian, that will sit there and say, I never saw racism, either went through life blind or went through life and didn't care, because every one of us has confronted racism at one point.
Subtle or
overt and subtle. I think I can remember being in elementary school being told by a teacher that I had that you know, it was really funny little story. I competed back in, I think it was the second or third grade, in a little story writing contest that a local radio station was having. And I won it. And I won it for my grade, and then in the school was like, you know, the big kid about campus, you know, you're a second grader, and your story's being read on the local radio station 2 or 3 times. So it was great, and I got a lot of fun. Well, I had one teacher who took exception that in this school, where there's only 6 black kids in the school, this little black kid wins the award, and she didn't appreciate it too much. And so later on, I had another writing assignment. I remember I wrote this story about Christmas time and going to the mall and buying a present for my mother and taking it to this lady who was a very pretty lady at this other store to have it wrapped. And she wrapped the present, and I appreciated the fact that she wrapped the present, and I took it home and gave it to my mother. Nice little story. Well, I misspelled a word in that entire story. And what word do you think it was that I misspelled?
Wrapped.
Wrapped. And I spelled it R-A-P-E-D. I'm dumb. I wasn't dumb, but, I'm a kid, made a mistake. I misspelled a word. And this woman gave me an F on the story and called me in and said to me, and her exact words were, this is why you people will never be anything, because this is all you have on your mind.
Rape.
Well, now, I'm third grade. I didn't even understand what rape was. I didn't understand what, really, at that point in time, maybe nowadays kids in 3rd grade know a lot about sex. I didn't know a lot about sex either. Didn't understand it. But all I remembered was that she said, this is why you people will never be nothing in life, because this is all you have in your mind. So at this point in time, being a kid who had never received anything below an A, never. I didn't get my first B until I hit like the 8th grade. I didn't get my first D or bad grade until I was a junior in high school.
What'd your parents say?
I never showed it to them. I balled it up and I hid it. And I hid it. And I hid it until I was old enough to realize, by looking in a dictionary, what she was talking about. Because I still read the story and I could not figure out what she was talking about. And she circled that word, but I still didn't understand it. And then I realized what rape was. Then I realized what this woman had the audacity to say to me. And I think part of the reason why I am where I am now is because I was so driven to prove her so deadly wrong. Because I've thought back on that several times in my life. And the comment about, this is why you people will never be anything in life, because this is all you have on your mind. is something that has played on my mind since the 3rd grade. I never even told my parents about this until I was like 26 years old.
When you say it's played on your mind, it's been something that you've been driven to prove wrong?
Correct. We got to remember, again, a child who is told that you people will never be anything because this is all you have on your mind, and you become, let's say, now 7th grade, and you know what she was saying, and you know the reason why she said that. It was because it was a purely racially motivated.
In 7th grade, did you tell your folks?
No.
Did you confront the teacher?
I never talked about this until really I was 26, and I never really addressed it with anybody until 3 years ago.
Now you're Montel Williams. You have your own national talk show.
I wish I could go get right in her face. I don't even want to see that woman.
Now, wait a second. You're somebody who has said, I'm going to come on television, and I'm going to right some wrongs.
Sure.
This woman might have done this to dozens of other kids.
Oh, well, most definitely. She probably did.
Why not right the wrong right now?
Well, you know, I won't say her name on this television show, but one of these days I may. And hopefully she's somewhere where I can't get to her. You know, meaning maybe she's like past, because she was kind of old then.
The Montel Williams Show airs in your neighborhood, I'm sure. Look for him there, and also look for him on the big screen real soon.
It could happen real quick, and you may even see me in another fight soon.
Nice meeting you. Bob's back next week. I'll see you later.